Hey guys, it's Generalkidd here. How's everyone doing today? So, for today's video, we're going to be tackling the question of what happens if an ally or an enemy blocks Johnson's Scarab beams. So normally, if you, the player, were to block Johnson's Scarab beams, this is what he would normally say.
Stay clear of the door. You trying to get killed? Give me some room. What? Do I have to spell it out for you? Move! Listen, I'm gonna count to 3. 1, 2. Good. Now stay put. Yeah, that's real funny. I'm still shooting.
So, in the previous video, we've established that regardless of what's blocking the door, no matter how many objects it places in front of it, Johnson will still shoot his beam regardless. And we've also established that even if you completely block his beams from reaching the door still explodes, and it's a whole scripted sequence. But the question for this video, and this was actually brought up in my Discord server, and I thought it was a pretty interesting question, so I figured I'd tackle for today's video. But the question was, what happens if an ally or an enemy AI were to be placed in front of the door blocking Johnson's beam? Obviously he'd still most likely shoot, but would he still react the same way as if the player was standing in front of the door? Because as you heard, if you are blocking Johnson's beams in front of the door, he'll have a few lines to say to you that are pretty kind of funny actually, and once you fly out of the way, he'll be like, good, and then if you quickly fly back in the way, he'll say more stuff. But what if it was like a ally or an enemy? Well, it was actually kind of tricky to test this, because normally I can't bring any allied AIs with me to go in front of the door, and enemies won't follow me in front of the door either. So I had to do a little bit of modding to make all the brutes friendly to me, and I had to get those specters near the end part and just basically drive out, keeping the gunner on the back, and bring the gunner all the way up the side of the building and basically drive the specter to the front of the door. It's a pretty classic trick you can do for bringing the specter into the final boss fight room if you haven't seen that before. But in this case, we're not bringing the brute all the way into the final boss fight room. We're just gonna bring this friendly brute and just park him right in front of the door and see if since he's allied, if Johnson will react the same way. And depending on Johnson's reactions, we'll see if it's necessary to test with an enemy as well. Alright, so everything should be in place now. The reason why the brute is still shooting, apparently the gunners are scripted to shoot no matter what. But anyways, let's see what happens now.
Stay clear of the door. Hey, bastard! Knock, knock!
Alright, so there you guys have it. Even with a friendly AI in front of the door, even though he's on my same team and everything, and by extension he would be on Johnson's same team, Johnson has no reaction to a friendly AI in front of the door. So it would seem that Johnson only responds to something blocking the doorway if it's a player. Whether it's the host or a co-op player, Johnson will react the same. And likewise, if I keep the brute here and I stay inside the specter, Johnson will run through the whole, his whole lines with me getting in the way. He'll still shoot eventually, but he'll only run through his extra lines if I'm personally physically blocking the way. Otherwise, if it's an enemy or an ally, well, we actually don't need to test an enemy, because if he doesn't even react to allies, then it definitely won't work with enemies. And it was a little tricky to spawn enemy AIs anyways and get him in front of the door. But yeah, basically Johnson only cares about the player. He could care less about any other allies. So he's totally happy to sacrifice any other allies that are in the way. And he won't even give them a warning too. He'll just blast right through them with his Scarab. But it also doesn't matter how the ally or enemy got there either. Whether they're spawned or I drove them up there, Johnson won't warn them at all. He'll just blast right through them. So it's a little small question to tackle for today's video, but still hopefully interesting nonetheless. But now you guys have your answer to that question, which is, Johnson will only react to something blocking the door if it's the player. Otherwise, everything else, he won't give any warning and will just blast right through it, whatever it is or whoever it is, friendly or foe. But yeah, so hopefully you guys enjoyed this video for today, and if you found it to be interesting, make sure to leave a like. Anything else you want to check out or look into, any other questions you want me to tackle or experiments to try out, let me know in the comments, and I'll definitely do my best to look into it. But other than that, make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you all next time. Bye guys!